his black-fringed tail describing short, fat arcs. "You want to roll in me, don't you?" Anna asked. He barked again, and she quashed an urge to pick him up, defile his soft new fur with her tainted hands. Turning away from the importuning brown eyes, she studied the color photocopies of Ursus horribilis, thumbtacked to a long bulletin board situated over a conference table. The muscular hump between the shoulders developed, it was thought, to aid in the main function of the 4-inch claws, digging. Fur was brown, tipped or grizzled with silver, earning the bear its name. Ears were rounded, plump teddy bear ears. Teeth less sanguine, the canines an inch or so in length, well suited to their feeding habits. Grizzly bears ate carrion, plants, ground squirrels, insects, and sometimes people. Anna thought about that. Thought about the olfactory enticements she would carry, handle, sleep beside at night. Stepping closer, she studied the pictures of massive heads, long jaws, paws that could topple a strong man, claws that could disembowel with ease, and she felt no fear. Members of the bear team, who monitored bear activities in the park and settled bear visitor disputes, and the Glacier Rangers routinely lamented the fact that the American people were such idiots. They thought of these wildest of animals as big, cuddly pets. One man had been stopped in the act of smearing ice cream on his 5-year-old son's cheek in hopes of photographing a bear licking it off. Anna was too well versed in the critter sciences to believe the animals harmless. She fell into a second and equally dangerous subspecies of idiot, those who felt a spiritual connection with the wild beasts, be they winged, furred, or toothed. A sense that they would recognize in her a kindred spirit and do her no harm, nullified a necessary and healthful terror of being torn apart and devoured. This delusion didn't extend to the lions of Africa. One couldn't expect them not to eat an overseas tourist. Everybody enjoys an exotic dish now and again. But American lions, American bears. She laughed aloud at herself. Fortunately, she wasn't fool enough to put interspecies camaraderie to the test, and never would she admit any of this to anyone. Least of all, Joan Rand, her keeper, trainer, and companion for the 19 days that she was cross-training on the Greater Glacier Bear DNA project, gleaning knowledge that could be put to use to better manage wildlife in her home park, the Natchez Trace Parkway in Mississippi. "Ah, my stinky little friend, your vacation package is ready," Joan said, as she emerged from an inner sanctum. Rand was American by birth, French-Canadian by proximity, and she sounded precisely like Pepe Le Pew, the cartoon Parisian skunk, when she chose to. Anna laughed. Joan would remember Pepe. She was near Anna in years, somewhere in that fertile valley of middle age between 45 and 55. Anna had liked Joan right off. Rand was on the short side, 5'2", and stocky, with the narrow shoulders of a person who couldn't carry much weight, and the solid butt and thighs of somebody who could hike a Marine drill sergeant into the ground. Anna liked the quickness of her mind and the gravelly quality of her voice. She liked her humor. But in the 2 days they'd lived and worked together, she'd not felt an ease of companionship. It seemed she was always looking for something to say. Mostly, silences were filled with work. Those that weren't had yet to become comfortable, but Anna had hopes. The bear researcher dropped the skunk accent, adjusted her oversized glasses, and said, "Take a seat. This is Rory Van Slyke. He's our Earthwatch Sherpa, General Dogsbody, and has promised, should a bear attack, to offer up his firm young flesh so that you and I might live to continue our important work." Rory, the individual to whom Joan referred, smiled shyly. In her years with the National Park Service, Anna had only had occasion to cross paths with the Earthwatch organization once before. Some years back, when she was a boat patrol ranger on Isle Royale National Park in Lake Superior, Earthwatch, an independent environmental organization funded by donations and staffed by volunteers, had been working on a moose study with the National Park Service. They had the unenviable task of hiking cross-country through the ruggedest terrain of a rugged park, seeking out dead and rotting moose, counting the ticks on the carcasses, then packing out the really choice parts for further study. They did this not merely voluntarily, they paid for the privilege, suggesting that the altruism gene was not a myth. All of the Earthwatchers she'd met, including Rory Van Slyke, were young, probably because the work they did would kill a grown-up. "How you do?" Anna said mechanically. "Well, thank you. And yourself?" A long time had passed since anybody had bothered to finish the old-fashioned greeting formula. Evidently Rory had been raised right, or strictly. "Fine," she managed. The boy, young man, had a light, high voice that sounded as if it had yet to change, though he was clearly years past puberty. He didn't look substantial enough to be much of a Sherpa, but as bear bait he'd do just fine. Slight build, tender-looking skin, coarse sandy hair, and dark blue eyes fringed with lashes so pale as to be virtually invisible. "Here's the plan." Joan spread a topographical map on the table in front of Anna, then leaned over her shoulder to point. She, too, stank to high heaven. It was good to be a member of a group. "We've gridded the park into cells 8 kilometers on a side," Joan said, as she dropped a transparent plastic overlay on the topographical map, aligning it with coordinates she carried in her head. "Each cell is numbered. In every square, every cell, we've put a hair trap. This is not to trap the bear in toto, but merely designed to ensure visiting bears leave behind samples of their hair for the study. Traps are located near as we can make them on the natural travel routes of the bears. Mountain passes, the confluence of avalanche chutes, that sort of thing. So we're talking some serious off-trail hiking here, bushwhacking at its wackingest. These asterisks," she poked a blunt brown forefinger at marks made by felt marker on the overlay, "are where the last round of traps are located. They've been in place 2 weeks. The 3 of us will take 5 of the cells. Numbers 331, 23, 52, 53, and 64. Here on the central and west side of Flat Top Mountain. What we'll be doing is going into the old traps, collecting the hair, dismantling the traps, and setting them up in the new locations, here." She put another plastic overlay on top of the first, and a second set of asterisks appeared. "Or as close to these respective heres as we can get. Mapping locations out on paper in the cozy confines of the office has very little relationship to where you can actually put them when you get out into the rocky, cliffy, shrubby old backcountry. Once the trap wire is strung, we pour the elixir of the gods, that's this blood and fish guts perfume you are pretending not to notice on us, Rory, into our new trap and leave for another couple of weeks. While wandering around up there, we'll also cover the Flat Top Mountain Trail from below 50 Mountain Camp to the middle of the Waterton Valley and the West Flat Top Mountain Trail from the Continental Divide to Dixon Glacier. Bears are like us. They like to take the easy way when they can. So we've located and marked the number of trees along the trail system that they are particularly fond of scratching their backs on. We'll collect hair samples from these, as well as any samples of scat we happen across." The lecture was for Rory. Anna had heard it before when Joan and her boss Kate explained the daunting task of data gathering for the DNA project. The inspiration of Kate Kendall, a researcher working jointly with the USGS, the United States Geographical Survey, and the NPS. From the hair and scat collected, the DNA of individual bears would be extracted. Modern techniques used by the lab at the University of Idaho would establish gender, species, and individual identification of the animals sampled. With this information, it was hoped an accurate census of the bears could be established, as well as population trends, travel routes, and patterns. This trapping system had been designed to give every single bear at Glacier an opportunity